Hi everybody, this is Sabahat. I welcome you all to Logic Apps Community Day 2024. And for today, I will be presenting you to the specific and integration using Logic Apps between a CE environment and we have that FNO environment as well. So if we just quickly go through about me, I am a software engineer based in Lahore. I graduated in computer sciences in 2021, and since then I have been working with Systems Limited as an integrations consultant. So part of my work evolves around integrating systems using, and the system can be CRM and the FNO, and we integrate them and make a unified system. The technologies I have been working on is usually Azure, and I usually use Azure Logic Apps and services buses and all that facilities that Azure offers. And using that, we design a complete environment that helps the user to have a better experience. So that's a bit about me. And if we go on to the agenda we have today, we will be discussing why do we need integration, because for now we have a lot of systems that we have integrated, and that what kind of benefits that integration in between different system offers. Why do we use particularly Logic App for that kind of integrations? What Logic App, Azure Logic App offers as a for benefits Logic App offers for integrations, and then we will be having a short demo in which I'll be having a small Logic App flow that will be showing you how to connect with different systems and integrate these data. And yeah. So primarily focusing on why do we need to integrate two or more systems at first place. The main purpose of integration is to ensure that the data stays consistent among different departments. That will present a unified system to the customer that the customer can view to access or retrieve the customer's data from multiple systems. That could be either sales department and the FinOps, financial and operation department and all that. That kind of unified system really helps the customer to have his data in place at one place rather than moving into and fro the different tabs and all that. So that will so also integration streamlines the processes for data flow between one department to another, and with that the departments can have a better insight into customer interactions and how they are interacting with the system, what kind of features they're preferring, what kind of um, features spark their interest, how they are performing their transactions. So when we have that idea in one place about the customer's interactions, that will help us to have a better focus on a better decision making than what needs to be changed, what is going fine, what's not going, and all that. After that, we have a few business scenarios. Like that was mostly why do we need to have integration. Like these are the kind of business scenarios we have where integration really helps. So we have first, the resources are allocated in a much better way. We don't have to utilize or dedicate some resources primarily for managing the consistency of data among different departments. So once we have that integration as an automated process, then that thing we will have the resources which are allocated to the consistency, maintaining the data consistency, will be able to be utilized in a much better way. And we, as I mentioned before, we have better customer insights that how our customers are interacting, what's going fine, what's not, and what needs to be changed, what needs to be for better scenarios, what better practices we need to adopt. And then the integrated system ensures that all customers' interactions are recorded and they are reported in compliance with financial recording. And that will help in automation of the orders processing. We have different departments of the system. We will integrate them, and that will present a unified view, as mentioned before, as well. Then the operational efficiency is one of the most important scenarios that we need. The need for manually data transfer between systems is reduced. That saves time, that saves the eliminates the chances of human errors and leading to overall operational efficiency. When a new customer is added, it's reflected in one department, is reflected in the other department. That and for example, one customer is rated in CE, it's reflected in finance and operations, and all. And with that, integrated systems help us to have a better inventory management. We have integrated systems that can track inventory in real time, aligning stocks with the customer demand and reducing holding costs. So I think that's are the basic scenarios that we can think of how integration will actually help. And for that, as I mentioned, we will be using Logic Apps to have these integrations. So what Logic App offers is, most importantly, is the built-in connectors. You don't have to worry about creating your own connectors. You can add custom connectors, but most of the needs are fulfilled by using the 800 plus built-in connectors that Azure Logic App offers. And being a low-code environment, the visual design helps to focus more on the problem we need to solve, rather than how to code the syntax errors, basic problems like creating a connection between systems and all. So that allows you to focus more on the problem rather than the code. And it is mostly cost effective. We have main two plans, consumption and standard logic app plans. And even if you go for a standard logic app, you have the option to choose between different plans we have, depending upon the traffic you need, depending upon the CPU, RAM, etc. you need. And then you can go with your own budget you have. And when we track it will allow you, if we combine DevOps with the Logic Apps, we can usually use CI/CD pipelines. We can deploy our changes from one environment to other, and we can track the changes and have a better way to collaborate between the code and track the changes. So what Logic App offers for integration in particular? As I mentioned, Logic App has more than 800 plus built-in connectors that we can use to perform all the actions, particularly for integration capabilities. And in our scenario in particular, we have a lot of built-in connectors for CRM and FNO. If you can look at the right side of the screen, that we have built-in connectors. These are built-in triggers that Logic App offers, that will basically trigger the Logic App, the ruler point that will start the Logic App flow. If you can see, we have multiple actions, like when we add a record in particular entity, when that and any record in that entity is added, modified, or deleted, any kind of modification is performed, we can get to trigger the Logic App flow that will have perform multiple other actions, and in the end, the record can be reflected in the other system, in our case, finance and operations as well. And if we look at the bottom right screenshot, we have the simplest way to set up the connection between two different systems. We simply have the option to have authorization, service principal, and you just need to add the credentials and it is done. The connection is created. Now we just have to focus on what entity you need to work with, which environment you need to work with, and how the data is supposed to be shown at the other entity. We have a lot of different scenario built-in triggers to integrate that particular business scenarios. For example, as I mentioned, when any entity has a record modified or deleted, whatever, you can have the logic app trigger and it will completely perform the actions. Furthermore, we can connect the logic app with a lot of monitoring services that will help us to give us the insights about our logic apps, how our logic app or the app is performing, and how we can check the fail scenarios, how much time it fails. Based on that, we can have a report generated, we can have a retry mechanism to check all the fail scenarios, and we can notify the concerned departments that this area and this entity is being problematic, there's that environment is down, and different um, insights can be obtained from Azure monitoring services. And for the logging purposes, we can always go to table storages to have the error logging and all. And the most important part is retry mechanism. We can have our failed runs and retries in place to track every failed request. And based on those failed requests, we can determine which request needs to be resubmitted, because not every request needs to be resubmitted. If there is some data in that has problematic, if coming from the customer, we need to notify the customer. In that case, that particular request doesn't need to be resubmitted. So that retry mechanism will help you to not have a resource allocated on checking that particular records you need to retry and feed them in. So for the scenario we are focusing on is the integration between CRM and FNO. We have multiple triggers and multiple ways of integrating. I have listed of 3 of them which I prefer to use. These are blob storages. So in your code, in your environments of FNO or CE, you need to connect with the Azure blob storages from your end, and you just need to upload the data to blob in a file format, in the text format, considering in mind the limitation on this space we have for that particular blob. And other than that, we can go for service bus queues or topics. You can have multiple queues for each of the entity you have. You can have separate queues for different environments you have. In that case, I guess topics helps more, because you can have each topic for each of that environment, and in between that we can have subscriptions for different entities and all. And last is simply the HTTP trigger. You can have the endpoint, the URL of the logic app, and you can, based on that, you'll just have to add that in your codes from FNO or CE, and that will trigger the logic app. So the use case we will be focusing on, we will be having a CRM system that will push the data to our topic or queue of the service bus, that will fetch and trigger automatically the logic app. The logic app will perform some data transformations, modify the record in a way that needs to be stored at the other end, and then we have the record created at the other end. After that, when we have the record created, we need to have a reference from one system, FNO, to CE, that we can have an idea that which record of FNO is associated with ECE and all that. So that's it, the theoretical part. I guess now we can quickly jump into the demo. So this is a basic demo I have prepared for this session. So simply, as I mentioned, we will be having a trigger. The trigger will be having a message in a queue. We will be using queues. You can have topics, or if you want, you can have a blob storage as well. Simply, we have to disconnect that queue and with your queue with here. For that, you need to have credentials that you get from here and just use them here, and the connection will be created. That's it. After that, I have a few modules to have the data. So basically, the flow will be, the logic app will be triggered using this logic, this queue, the FN by FNO or CE. You can have different queues for different environments. Then you can have some data transformations, because FNO and CE doesn't require the data in the same format. Simple example is lookups. You can have for lookups in FN, and to have pass a value for a lookup in CE, you need to pass a GUID of that particular record to have that record created against that particular record. And after that, we can have record and all that mode transformations as well, whatever you want to do. Then we can have the record created. After that, you just have to perform some error handling, which we usually do. So that's the basic structure. Jumping deep in, I prefer to receive the data in Logic App as a JSON. So the queue will be having the data in format of a JSON. You will have the JSON, you just need to generate a schema, just paste a JSON here, and the schema will be generated based on that. Once you have the JSON parsed, you can access each and every of this attribute separately and use their values in somewhere else. Then you can compose the values for lookup, option sets, or whatever data transformation you need that's required. And after that, you can just have the built-in connector in Azure Logic Apps to create a record. This is a trial environment, so I don't have much of the environments here. But when you connect to an actual environment, you will be having different environments, and for those environments, you will be having different entities or tables. Just make sure that you select the correct environment you are designated to and the table name, and just simply have the values either hard-coded, or you can have this, click on this lightning sign, and the JSON, which we got from the queue, will be having all the values. So we can have this values dynamically as well. If I quickly just backspace it. So the values will be inserted dynamically from whatever we received from the other end, be it FNO or be it CE. Otherwise, you can have a nice expression to perform some kind of uh, transformations if you want to have something like this to lower it to string. If you don't have any full-fledged transformations, a bit of these things can be done from the expressions. So you can add these values here as well. Just make sure that the values marked with static are compulsory, and usually if there are few values that are necessary that are not marked as a static as well. For example, if we go to the CE FNO side, we have a few parameters that names company ID and all, which is not marked as static, but it is usually needed. So as mentioned, we will be having instances of these records. I prefer to have these instances stored in a more secure way, like a key vault, like parameters are okay, but while creating the connections, you can have this credentials stored in keywords, and you can access it from there as well. After that, you have entities. The bottom drop down menu will be showing you the entities just like here as well. And you just need to add the values from here or just what we got from the other system. So this is the parameter. So what we got from the queue as well. Then we have the company, and we have advanced parameters as well. If you have something which is not shown here, you can always go and check. Use a search button bar to search that particular record you are looking for, and that's it. So this built-in connector will help you to just store, add the values dynamically as you want from the CE side, whatever we got from the other environment. And just reviews a bit of code view. We have the JSON format. If you want anything else, you can get it from here as well. So basically we have a full-fledged designer view, and we can go to the code view to get the JSON structure as well. That usually helps us to deploy codes to different environments. And after that, we will be having some error handling stuff, which is just minimal at this point, but we have a lot of error handlings processes and just a minute. So this is a basic structure of the logic app, which will be focusing, that will be having creating a record from one system to another, just as basic as this. It will hardly take you to like 5 to 10 minutes to complete a complete structure like that. And the integration from one system, FNO or CE, to other system will be done. Data will be deflected. So yeah, that was a short demo on how we can connect FNO with CE using logic apps. I hope you were able to learn something from that, and that will help you in future whenever you are deploying and developing such kind of scenarios. So thank you for staying with me till the end. I hope you learned something, and in case of any queries, anything you want to ask, or you just want to connect, you can always reach me out to LinkedIn. You can always will have it published as well. So it was great connecting with you people. I hope we stay connected, and I wish you best of luck. I hope you enjoy the rest of the community day. Bye.